Good morning. Did I give you enough pause for this question? Or this, I guess I don't have a question mark there, but the statement? I hope you've been thinking about it, because now I'm going to put you on the spot and see what we can come up with, okay? I mean, it's Thanksgiving. This is kind of our Thanksgiving service today. And so what are the benefits of thankfulness? Joy? I heard something over here.
Increases faith.
I still can't
Increases faith.
Oh, increases faith. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Joy. And well, why joy? Yeah, okay. And why? How does it increase one's faith?
Because you remember what God has done.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, good. What are some other benefits of having a thankful spirit? Better health, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. They've demonstrated that. Yeah. What are some other benefits? By the word benefit means it profits you. It's advantageous to you to have a thankful spirit. Relationships. How so?
People like being around you.
Yeah. People like being around you, and they probably like giving you gifts because you're thankful for them, right? I don't know. I threw that one out. What else? Contentment? Yeah, that's right. You're satisfied. In fact, that's going to come out in our message today. We're going to be in Psalm 103, and it talks about the benefits of God that satisfies us, and that means we're content. Anything else?
If you learn to be thankful, you won't be so dragged down when things go bad.
Yeah. I mean, your mind can only think of one thing at a time, right? It's, as far as I understand, it's impossible to think two different thoughts at the same time. So if you're thankful, if you're thinking about thankfulness, what are you not thinking about? Yeah, you're not thinking about the issues and struggles that seem to confound us in life. So there's a lot of benefits here. Here's one that I came up with, and I think it's the best benefit because I came up with it. When you're walking in thankfulness, you are walking in truth. Now think about that for a moment, okay? When you are thankful, you are being truthful. You are recognizing and accepting what God says about himself and what he says about us. You are walking in recognition that God is good, and you don't deserve that goodness. And so that's what resonated with me today. And I chose this passage here in Psalm 103. It's a well-known passage. I encourage you to open up your Bibles, and just for a quick page reference, I'm on page 502 in the Blue Bible. I chose this passage. I had memorized it decades ago, 4 decades ago probably, when I first became a believer, and hadn't given it much thought in recent years, but I decided to not just to rememorize it because I had forgotten much of it, but to really deeply meditate on it. And what I found as I meditated on these first 4 or 5 verses that we're going to be looking at specifically today is how it really just changed my attitude about things in my own life and things like that. And it had it's having an effect on me. And so obviously I want to see you all be encouraged with the same thing. And it's an easy psalm to memorize, but it's so important that as we memorize this, that we sincerely, and I've learned this lately, memorization carries little fruit with it unless it's also meditated on. In other words, you have to pause and think about these things and what it means to you, what God is really saying, and then it really starts to have an effect on you. It's like a piece of cloth that is dipped in dye. How long does that cloth stay in that dye will affect how deeply that it transforms the color of the cloth, right? And so when we meditate on these passages, and today Psalm 103, and I hope that you meditate on it this holiday season, is it will have a really great profound effect upon you, and like many of you said, increases your faith. Your people want to be around you more. It brings contentment, satisfaction in life, and you're going to walk in truthfulness as well as the other things that you mentioned to us. It improves your health here. So let's look at this here, and I'm going to really talk about the first 5 verses this morning. We're going to begin by a heart-filled praise, verses 1 and 2. It's written by David. David is that great shepherd king, the man of Israel who is seen as a precursor to Jesus Christ in many regards. He was a king of Israel. Jesus will be the King of Kings who will come. But David wrote this passage in some time of his life, I'm not sure when, but he says this here in the first 2 verses here. He says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget none of his benefits." The first thing that we ought to notice here is he says 3 different times in these first 2 verses to bless the Lord. So what does it mean to bless? We've talked about that. It's nothing new to us to understand, but these are words. In this context, they are words of adoration, praise, and thankfulness and worship. When God blesses us, they are words of His acceptance and exaltation of us. And here we are exalting God. There's nothing we can give to God. There's no gifts here other than what He wants, and that is our heart-filled recognition of who He is. And it's like He's asking this question, do you really know who I am? And does it make a difference in your life? Or can you come and say, yes, I believe in God and I worship God, and then can we then live our lives as if we just shut the door on Him and we no longer can see Him? And what David is saying here in this wonderful passage, he says, bless the Lord. There's a problem with this passage, and I'm recognizing it right now in this slide, and that is the word Lord should be capitalized. And I didn't catch it until right now because I wanted to talk to you about that. When in the Old Testament, when you see the word Lord and it's in this form with a capital L and then small O-R-D, it's speaking of the Hebrew word Adonai or Sir. It is used of God, but in the Hebrew it's actually capitalized. It's capital L, capital O, capital R, and D. And what does that signify? The divine name. It's Yahweh. And this is important for David because now he's not talking about a distant God, but he's talking about the covenant God of Israel. And for us, we understand that to be the God of promises. The relational God, the God of steadfast love, the God of mercy, the God that you can know personally. And it was a name given to Israel, and we know Him as Yahweh. We know Him as Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah. So he's focusing on somebody that he knows personally here. And what I would I want to say right now is that if you don't have a personal connection to God, your worship is going to be dead, in a sense. And it begins by understanding, wait a minute, God, I know you personally, and I know that you know me personally, and we have this wonderful connection with one another. So that's what David is saying here. Bless the Lord. He says, "O my soul, and all that is within me, bless His holy name." And so now he's saying, I don't want these just to be words of idle words. Words that I haven't really chewed on and meditated on. And I don't want them just to be here. And there's so much that we can say here that doesn't really generate from here. And so when he says, all that is within me, bless the Lord, all that is within me, and oh my soul, he's saying that I've thought about these things. They burn within me. I find my thoughts and my feelings of God are no longer just lip service, words that idle words that God just sees right through. I don't know if God has selective hearing. We know what that term means, right? Children are proficient at having selective hearing. What does that mean? They hear what they want to hear, and they cannot hear the words that they don't want to hear, right? Did you not hear what I said? But they hear what they want to hear, but not that. And I think adults, we are the same. We can't just choose to say this is a childish hearing, but I wonder if God has selective hearing. Now, how can I know that's a human term. God, we're projecting a God the way we think and things like that, but I do think that God has selective hearing. Now, why would I say that? And I think you probably understand this. Why would I say that about when it comes to people worshiping Him? I wonder, and I don't have a verse for this, but I do wonder if God listens and hears those whose worship is truly reflects who they are and what they're thinking of and how they feel, rather than people who just throw up words because, well, it sounds good and I like this song and I can sing along to it here. But he tells us that the blessing of God, the thankfulness of God is going to originate out of the last sentence here, because we forget not all of his benefits. We just forget some of them, but not all of them. Well, I don't know if that's what it means, but it is where the thankfulness comes, and I'm not sure if we can truly have a thankful spirit from deep within our soul if we don't begin by trying to understand what am I thankful for. We understand who he's thankful to, O Lord, Yahweh, my personal God, the God who knows me, the God who's made promises to me, the God of steadfast love, the God of grace and the God of mercy, the God who will never leave me nor forsake me, the God who knows me, who knows my thoughts even before I do, who knows what words I speak before I even think about speaking them, the God who formed me in my mother's womb and knitted me together, who is intimately involved with me. This is a God who I worship, but I want to know why I should worship him. Okay? I mean, we come in here and we sing, and we ought to sing. It's a biblical thing. I mean, Jesus is known to sing worshipful songs with his disciples. Singing is a gift of God. Do you know what God sings to us? Read it in Zephaniah chapter 4, I think it is. It's, God sings to us songs of love, songs of affection, songs of warmth. We hear it when we worship him, and we can hear it in our soul. But I come in here Sunday morning, and my mind is often filled with things, and I sit here, or I stand and I sing, and sometimes I'm not thinking of the words I'm singing. And it's probably me, because I'm thinking about what I'm going to say in a few minutes, right? Or I'm looking over outside and I see a car pulling in, and I'm all of a sudden, it's just, I see that, and I wonder who that is. And all these things happen, and all of a sudden I've given these idle words to God without necessarily having them come from deep within my belly, my soul. And I'm sure God hears that, but I'm sure he wishes that I would take these songs before I sang them, and maybe this is not a possibility, but it would be interesting if when you came in the door here, we would give you the songs and have you find a quiet place in the church, and you were to read over those songs and meditate on them and really understand what you're saying. And then we come up here and we sing them to God. I wonder if that would be more meaningful to us. Now, I'm sure some of you might say like me, so, well, I'm not going to sing this song because I don't think, for whatever reason. But that would be an interesting, should we do that next week? I guess not. The worship team, when they pick out these songs, they do those kind of things. They think about these songs, they meditate on them and things like that, and it has a profound effect on how they lead us into worship. But I don't think God is interested in idle words just because we like the melody, or we like, the tempo, or we like the beat, or we like the volume, or we like, this is a cool song, and I think it's okay to think that way, but I think it's so much more important when we look at what David is saying here. He says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me." Not just here, but here and here, and to bring those words to God. You know, as people who have friends and relatives and partners in marriage, and we become sensitive to how people say things to us. A couple of weeks ago, I had a student on the bus, a seventh grader, got off the bus at school, and last one off the bus, and he just went into a tirade about how I had made him late to school that day. And he was just mouthing off to me and just getting real, and I was caught off guard, and I'm thinking to myself, I have no control over this. I follow a time schedule, and I can't control traffic, and you're not late. He said, I'm going to get in detention and all this now, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I didn't say anything to him, just go away. But the next day I had to say something to him, because it's one thing, if you don't say things to them, it just gets worse. So he was sitting on the bus. He was one of the first kids on the bus. When I picked him up the next morning, I said, "What did you say to me?" He says, "What?" I said, "When you got off the bus," this is selective hearing again, "what did you say to me?" "No, you said something to me. You were chastising me." I didn't use that word chastising because he doesn't know what it means. "About making you late to school." He says, "Well, you were, man. I was late to school, and it was your fault." And he was going on, and I said, "Excuse me, don't talk to me that way." Secondly, I have no control over the timing of the bus. We are scheduled. I come here the same day every day, pretty much. If I hit a little traffic, I might be 2 minutes late. It doesn't matter. So I had him sit behind me instead of his regular seat. And I said, "I think you owe me an apology." Shouldn't have said that, because you know what he did? "I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers," and made this. That's when I wanted to pull over and do what I know that I could have done if there was no penalty for it. And he would have had a long walk to school that day. But there was no sincerity in that at all, right? He was just angry. And I think that God, when he wants our worship, he wants it sincere. He wants it to come here. And to do that, we have to come thinking about it. David put a lot of thought into this. And that's what he's thinking about, the benefits. And again, let's read verses 3 to 5, because he brings out some of these benefits for us here. By the way, a benefit is something that benefits you, right? It's something that is advantageous. It brings profit to your life. It makes your life better than it would be if you didn't have these things. So he says, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy, who satisfies you with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. So this is a good passage here, because it really does, it's a very broad thing here, but it's very simple in what he's saying here. He's talking about the benefits that profit us that come directly from God. He begins by saying, who forgives all your iniquities. And now we don't really use the word iniquity in our relationships. We don't tell our friend who stands us up to say, you committed an iniquity against me. But it is a very deep word, because it talks about failure to live according to how you were meant to live. And it's an offense against a holy God. Now, we would know this as sins, right? So what he's saying here is he has forgiven, and we know the word forgiven, right? It means that your debt has been paid. You no longer have anything on account with God as far as you're falling short. Your life now is free from any and all guilt and anything that is associated with being a failure as a human being towards other people. In other words, for every time you failed somebody or hurt somebody or said something that was disrespectful to them, any thought that you had, any lies, any stealing, any immorality that you committed against anybody at all times, and from the moment you were born until the day you die, have been cleansed by God. And more importantly, we have no more guilt towards our God or with our God. They have been forgiven. Why? And we know the answer to that. As I look around this room, this is nothing new to any of us. It's because Jesus, in his perfect humanity, paid the price. That's what the word atonement means. He atoned for our sins on the cross, and so now we are free. And this is just the beginning of salvation for us. But it's the most important first part. Are you forgiven? Because if you aren't forgiven, God is going to keep us there in our relationship with him until that has been established. And so that's what David is saying is, you've forgiven me for all my iniquities. And you heal, who heals all your diseases. We understand that this is not something in the here and now, but I do agree that God can heal people. But even if he does heal people, he is sovereign. He has a right to do what he does, right? But even if he does heal that person of a disease, they will get another disease and they will still die. Okay? They still die. I should put this down before I do that again. All right? So this is not a temporary thing he's talking about here. Why do we have diseases? Why do we die of either old age or why do we get run over by school buses? Because, what?
We live in a fallen world.
No, because you have bad school bus drivers. Because we live in a fallen world and our bodies are fallen. God does not redeem this physical body of mine because it's not worth redeeming. He gives us a new body. And so the promise of healing is real, and we are healed emotionally, we can be healed spiritually, and we can live more healthy lives. But the real healing comes when we enter into his divine presence, and he gives us this body as Christ got, an eternal heavenly body that is fit to live in his presence. And so we live for that and we hope for that. But it's not here right now. Okay? So, but he goes on, he says, those are great benefits, but here's more, who redeems your life from the pit. What is he speaking of here? The pit. You know, you've used that phrase, you know, I'm in the pit right now. What does that mean? It means you're not in the place you want to be, right? I'm in the pits of life. Or that person lives in the pits of life. A pit is a hole in the ground where refuge goes, where you discard things that are going to be burned up or discarded and, buried up again. You have no use for it anymore. So is he talking about hell or eternal damnation? In one sense he is, but in a broader, grander sense, he's saying, I'm going to take your life that was meaningless, without purpose, that was on the road to destruction, and I'm going to take you out of that pit, and I'm going to give you real meaning in life, purpose in life, value in life. I'm going to give you a reason for being here now. And it's not going to be just so you can survive, but it's going to be so that you can march into that heavenly realm with understanding this. And what is a great thing that redeems us? That redeems us. By the word redeem means to purchase, right? It's to bring forth out of something that was meant for destruction, and now it's meant for exaltation. God will exalt you, not for your own works, but he will exalt you into his presence. He will bring you into his presence. And what is it that redeems us from that? What is a great purpose for your life that gives you meaning that you never had until you came to Christ? The one thing that he gives you that is more valuable than anything else? Your meaning and purpose of life for eternity? Do we know what that is? We ought to know what that is. The number one thing is to be related to Him and to enjoy His presence. What greater meaning or purpose in life could there be? And in this world, we can think of a lot of things. You know, a new phone, a new vacation, a new car, a new home, a new child, whatever. We think of those things and they give us kind of meaning and things like that, but that child grows up, there goes your meaning. Your car breaks down, there goes that value. Your phone, new phone is outdated in a couple months, so what do? Well, God says, I'm going to give you something eternal. I'm going to redeem your life by giving you meaning and purpose, and that is to be the recipient of my love and to give me your love back and to have that for eternity. And then He crowns us with this love and compassion. Now, the idea of being crowned is, when you think about this, somebody in England is going to be crowned soon. I know he's already king, King Charlie. But he hasn't really gone through the coronation yet. I don't think he has he? I haven't got my invite yet, but when he does that, he will kneel down, and some person of great authority, probably within somebody in the Church of England, is going to put a crown on his head, because that's the center of thought and reason and authority and understanding, and the crown just kind of covers you in a sense of royalty. It is the epitome of saying something, you are exalted. And so what he's saying here, I'm going to crown you, I'm going to exalt you with what? Love and compassion. So I want something more tangible than that. But God says there is nothing more tangible than that, something more meaningful, more important, more helpful for you. Because once we understand God's love and we can accept Him, it really frees us from demanding these things of the world or the people around us. We are free now to love people because I have God's love. I'm not going to put that burden on you to love me and to make me feel loved. Now I can enjoy and appreciate your love, but I don't need it like I did before. Because now I'm crowned with God's love and His compassion. And His compassion is He understands that we are but dust. We're going to see that later on in this passage here. And that we are here one day and gone the next. He knows we are weak, we can be frail and things like that. Real manly talk, right? He understands that. And He treats us as that we should be. He goes on here and says, God satisfies me with good things so that my youth is renewed as the eagles. At my age now, I don't think I have much youthfulness left in me. And so there's nothing left to be renewed, right? But I'm missing the point here, because he's not talking about a physical body that He renews. What do you think he's talking about? What is that youth in us that he's talking about? Any thoughts? See, this is the beauty of being able to meditate on a verse. Because when you meditate on it, you have to stop and ask, what is he talking about here? And I'm not going to leave this until, Father, your Spirit reveals to me what youth you're talking about within me. Because quite frankly, there's nothing left in me that I consider youthfulness that can be renewed. And God says, but then that's not what I'm talking about. He's talking about your spirit that is connected with Him, that which is made in His image. He renews that. That's where we find real life, and that energy of spiritual connectiveness empowers us, and that's why this verse uses this eagle as a symbol of that. And the eagle is used in a number of other passages, is it not? You know, and why an eagle? Why not a woodpecker? Why not a sparrow? Why not a pigeon? Why not a duck or goose? Because an eagle does something that other birds don't, not even hawks do. They're big, powerful wings enable them to soar. When in the warmer weather and I sit outside doing my studies and meditation, and every once in a while I see a large bird in the air, there's certain warm days and so on. I don't know if they're eagles or not. They could be in this area, but they could be vultures for all I know. They're big, but they hardly flap their wings. They just soar and this and that. But they have to flap their wings to get up there. They're not just have a rocket pack on their back and shoot up there and then they put their wings out. No, they have to exert energy to get up there. They have to flap their wings, but once they get up there, once they get close to the heavenlies, once they get close to that place where God is, and I'm speaking figuratively now, once we get up there and we are engulfed in the love of God, there's little effort for us to stay there because the warmth of His love keeps us afloat. And it's a wonderful image, these eagles. So He's not going to make you like you're 18 years again, but He's going to grab a hold when we exalt God and we understand good things, and He satisfies me with these good things. And what are the good things? Well, it's the things He just mentioned. The forgiveness of iniquities, the healing of diseases. What was the other one? How soon we forget. We were redeemed from the pit. Thank you. He saved me. Those are the good things that He's talking about. But we're going to read some more good things here together. And what I want to do is read the rest of the psalm with you in a spirit of prayer. Okay? And at that time, I guess the worship team can come up because this will be my closing prayer. I didn't key you in on that, but don't fail me now, worship team. But let me read this, and you may read along with me. You can meditate with your eyes closed, but listen to the rest of this psalm and draw out of it all the many other blessings and benefits that we can be thankful for. Beginning in verse 6, in an attitude and spirit of prayer. The Lord works righteousness and justice for all who are oppressed. He made known His ways to Moses, His acts to the people of Israel. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. He will not always chide, nor will He keep His anger forever. He does not deal with us according to our sins, nor repay us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is His steadfast love towards those who fear Him. As far as the east is from the west, so far He does remove our transgressions from us. As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear Him. For He knows our frame. He remembers that we are dust. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field. For the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear Him, and His righteousness to children's children, to those who keep His covenant and remember to do His commandments. The Lord has established His throne in the heavens, and His kingdom rules over all. Bless the Lord, O you His angels, you mighty ones who do His word, obeying the voice of His word. Bless the Lord, all His hosts, His ministers who do His will. Bless the Lord, all His works, and all places of His dominion. Bless the Lord, O my soul. And all of God's people said, Amen.